Hey, this is Josh from Cattle Decapitation. You're watching CMS TV.
You know, I think there was some stuff with like the facilities, you know, the bathrooms, they were flooding, you were stepping in piss, you know, it felt like Jesus, you know, walking on piss.
So you're talking about, you're talking about the public restrooms?
Yeah, the public restrooms.
Not your cabin restrooms?
No. Yeah, it's the public restrooms. You know, I mean, it was just, and then just people are pigs, man. I mean, I did an unscientific poll, you know, and probably 70% of the guys where they were taking a piss or a deuce, they'd run right out the bathroom. And I'm like, oh man, like this defeats the purpose of me washing my hands, you know? I mean, it just, I guess that's what bugged me the most was kind of some of that stuff. Cause I'm like, ugh, I'm walking around in this crap. And then
was this an older boat?
No, it's a fairly modern ship. It's
really?
One of the Royal Caribbean Mariner of the Seas.
Yeah, I went to the Kiss cruise back in October.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the most brand new boat. It wasn't the most modern boat. I guess it was an older boat, but right. I didn't experience any of these issues that you're talking
about. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, one of the people that was probably like 4 cabins over, it sounded like their toilet flooded and it flooded the whole cabin. So I'd hate to be them. Yeah. I mean, I was just like, whoa, I hope we don't have any of those issues, you know, but yeah, I guess it could have been worse, right? I could have wound up with COVID and herpes or gonorrhea or something.
Can I ask you, if you don't mind, what did this cost you to attend this Monster of Rock cruise?
You know, I know we were talking about box sets before and how ridiculous amount of money we sometimes spend on this shit. Yeah, you know, I started tallying up this thing in my head as I'm probably running 103 fever on the flight back. I'm thinking, holy shit, you know, this just about cost us $16K.
$16K?
Yeah, between like hotels and transportation, first class flights there and back. I was sitting there going, oh my God, I'm not going to do this again.
That for two?
Not next year. What was that?
Is that for 2?
Yeah, it's for 2 people. Yeah.
Even still, how much was the boat?
$8,000 a piece?
Well, I'll tell you this. You know, I can't stay away from the classic metal show even while I'm on this excursion. But so I was listening to that part where Chris was talking about the drink package being like $300. Drink package, we didn't buy until we got there.
Yeah.
They ran $619 a pop.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, so it isn't cheap, you know, you're really going to pay. So yeah, I think well, you know, I mean, I guess the first class plane tickets or we splurged on that. And then we got a hotel room and they're in Orlando because, you know, we got off the ship at about 8:30, but the plane didn't leave till 8 p.m. And then you're flying in reverse, you know, right. and it's like, ugh, we're not going to stay in the airport. You know, I mean, and so anyways, I think it all added up, but yeah.
Well, man, hold on. I gotta know how much did you pay for your cabin? And what kind of a cabin did you get?
Did you get we got one. I mean, we got the fancy one. So
okay, yeah. But still, how much did that cost?
What do you consider the fancy cabin? What
you know, the one with the balcony and all the, you know, the deluxe kind of, you know, cabin and stuff. Yeah, it's bendy, man.
It's bigger, right? It's bigger than the regular cabins.
Yeah. It basically runs about $6,000 a person, I think.
Oh, wow. God damn, to see Tora Tora. Jesus.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we can laugh about it now, I think, especially since I'm heavily medicated and on an NyQuil buzz.
I have no idea what that Kiss cruise cost because I was, you know, on the boat as part of the entourage. So, right. but you know, I had flights out to LA, hotel in Long Beach, 1 week on the boat, flight back to Chicago, all that. I have no idea what that cost, but it certainly didn't cost me a goddamn dime. I tell you that right now.
Oh, well,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. And I do get this feeling that, I mean, I like the cruise, but it definitely has this kind of cult-like mentality. It's almost
Right.
like, you can do no wrong. It almost reminds me of like the Kiss Tards and the Crew Tards, right?
Right.
It's almost like what, you have to do, you have to support. And I get it. It's like nobody wants to say anything really disparaging about the cruise and stuff like that. And it's like even constructive feedback is kind of something that's kind of frowned upon, which is kind of weird.
By who?
Well, if you look online,
Yeah.
like all the supporters and stuff, and it's like, it's like they just chew and swallow,
Yeah, he ain't wrong on that either, Neely, because I don't
pay attention to that garbage. But
I don't even know how, but for some reason I'm a follower of the Monsters of Rock Cruise on Fuckbook.
Okay.
And I see there were definitely people bitching about this cruise. I mean, Ruben could talk all about this, but throughout the entire 5 days, and obviously because it's the cruise, everybody's posting pictures, tons of pictures. So my feed all week was Monsters of Rock Cruise. Hey, here's Stephen Piercy in the ocean, and here's Jeff Keith, doing whatever.
Yeah, here's Extreme with Nuno Betancourt sitting down because
he blew up his knee.
His knee in a basketball game.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of stuff. But every other post on this Monsters of Rock Cruise starts with, "I don't want to complain, but."
Right.
And then it's just some big complaint. And it's a lot of this stuff that Ruben was saying, that a lot of the stuff was too expensive, or there was a lot of people bitching about stupid shit. Like the first day, and Ruben, you could talk about this, but the first day they had a bad storm. So they had to close down the pool deck or the pool party or whatever it is.
Right.
And like literally, I know Piercy posted pictures of the lightning hitting the water. So it was a bad storm. It looked like a bad storm. Right. And there was people bitching, like whenever they did the makeup for it, there was people that were bitching like, well, I couldn't get in to see it. I paid this and it's like, would you rather have died in the fucking show, you dick? Yeah, I mean, the people, and admittedly, if I spent $16,000 as Ruben did, I'd be bitching about I'd be bitching that one piece of a steak that I ordered was fucking not cooked to perfection.
Right.
But go ahead, Ruben, give us the story, man, because it sounds like you have quite the adventure.
Well, it was, so you're right. I mean, I think for the sail away, they typically do the sail away, and then they have Sir Edward Trunk and Florentine, and then the unfunny guy, and then the other hosts, do a snapshot with the crowd, and then so that didn't happen, like you said. There was that storm. George Lynch was supposed to be the Lynch mob, because he's going by. What a confused motherfucker. It's like he doesn't know whether he wants to be the Electric Freedom or George Lynch or the Lynch mob, and it's just like, whatever. But anyways, that didn't happen.
Freedom is dead. Lynch mob is back because that's the name recognition and the money. So Lynch mob is the thing now.
Right. So, but leading up to that, it's kind of hit and miss as far as the venues. They got the pool stage, which that's the one outside. That's where Lynch would have played for the sail away. That's hit and miss as far as sound. Royal Theater is probably the best sounding venue on the ship, and I don't know what kind of deal Queensryche pulled, but they performed both times in that theater. And they just sound fucking great. They always sound well, pretty good. And the other one's a Star Lounge, which is just kind of like it's really shitty to actually catch a band in there because it's standing room only for the most part. And there's no real stage. I think the stage is probably like a foot off the ground. So, you get enough people standing. It's like a damn punk rock show,
Right.
But, the sound in there sounds great. And then the next one is like a Studio B, which is basically like a ice skating rink, that they then use as a venue for performances. But I don't think it's not equipped for that, because I know I've never heard a band sound good in that particular venue. So, But having said that, I don't know if we want to tear through some of the bands.
Go ahead.
We want to do this.
Tell us who was good and who was bad.
Yeah,
and who were dicks
and
to
I'm
you
gonna,
and everything else.
Yeah. So, anyways, would you say something? Dicks?
I said, tell us who were dicks to you, because you asked me specifically if everything was on the table. I was like, hey,
yeah, I think, and I'll just mention this because I thought it was kind of hysterical. We had gotten on the ship, and they give you this champagne, and not my thing, but my wife's like, well, why don't you grab one and I'll drink it? And I was like, what the fuck?
All right.
We're walking with champagnes. She guzzles hers. I got the other one. We exchange glasses. And then it's like, oh shit. I'm like, hey, there's Stephen Piercy. I saw Jason Green and then Monaco, and then Piercy's wife, girlfriend, whatever. And then some other lady. Right. And, I knew it was Piercy because he had that goddamn lollipop in his mouth, and you just hear it just kind of rolling around his fake teeth, and then just that look that he gave me was kind of like that kind of look that I've seen many wildlife get right before a bigger predator hops on them, right? He gave me just this kind of look like, fuck, he recognized me. He pulls the fucking hood over his face. He looks like the fucking emperor from Star Wars, and so basically, at that point, my wife is like, who is that? And I go, it's Stephen Piercy from Rat. And she goes, who? And I go, it's Steve. And then, it kind of became obvious that I recognized who it was. Elevator, door swing open. And I was like, yeah, just go ahead. At that point, it was just kind of like, it'd be really awkward to go up on the elevator with him. Plus, it was just kind of, obviously he didn't want to be approached. But I had a couple other observations where he did the same thing, and it was just kind of weird. He's just kind of cold, and there was clearly other people that recognized him, and there goes the hood, and he basically stared at his feet as he's walking by, and it's like, wow. It just didn't seem like he really wanted to be there, which is kind of odd considering that this kind of setting is kind of almost kind of like the same mentality as NAMM, right? You're kind of there to kind of mingle with the fans or whatever.
Yeah, look, and again, I'm not going to defend Steven. Steven can defend himself, but the only thing I could think with him is on that cruise, he's one of the more recognizable faces and names. Rat was obviously a huge MTV band, so Steven is definitely more recognizable than probably 2/3 of the musicians, probably 9/10 of the musicians, really. I would imagine the recognizable guys are probably Frank Hannon and Jeff Keith of Tesla, Piercy, Kip Winger. Well, even Kip looks different now.
Yeah, he's all gray and shit.
Yeah, he looks different now. So he doesn't look, Steven still looks like Stephen Piercy. Maybe an older version, but he still looks like Stephen Piercy. That's the only thing I could think of. Because as I told you, Ruben, and as Neely will attest to, we know Steven. He's always been cordial with us.
Steve, I've known Steven for 23 years, and he treats me just as like we're long lost brothers. And every time I see him, he's like, Neely, so good to see you, bro. So good to see you. Now,
admittedly, we're not just dopey fans that are looking to take a picture with him like the other 12,000 on the boat or whatever, but he knows us, so that could be why. But wow, as I told you the other day, that surprised me a little bit because Steven's not usually that way. But I do know that they had some turmoil that I won't get into, but they had turmoil going into the cruise, so it could have been some of that too, where he was just kind of
and I know he had gotten a lot of shit online, I think, because then they had set up like a separate meet and greet, where they were charging like 100 bones, and
then Ruben froze.
And Ruben is frozen. Maybe it's the COVID that got his camera.
Maybe Steven got him.
Steven probably fuck this guy for talking to me.
Yeah.
The meet and greets are done in during the photo ops that they do. They do these photo ops throughout the ship, throughout the day. And stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm kind of like wondering if that had played a factor, because that was announced prior to getting on the ship, and I'm sure that probably wasn't the reaction they wanted to get.
Right.
Yeah,
so
could be.
Who knows?
Who knows? But
I will say this. I mean, I think being that we're talking Piercy, I did get a chance to see him on the pool stage. And that was on what night? That was on night 4. So he went on at like 10 o'clock. He did Wanted Man, and then I'm Insane, and after that, his voice kind of left the room. But I mean, overall, he sounded a lot better than I expected. Although I gotta say, I don't know if you guys know who the drummer is. Was that Will Hunt?
Yeah, Will Hunt.
Oh boy, talk about an upgrade. He makes Bobby Blotzer look like one of those monkey toys playing the drums. I mean, it's horrible. No, but what an upgrade. I mean, just totally kicked ass, that guy. And then Eric, man, I mean, I think he did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a valuable dude to have in your band, for sure.
Well, Eric is like, is the punk version of Warren DeMartini.
Right.
He plays those riffs note for note, and he's amazing. And the thing is Eric doesn't have any kind of an attitude at all. He just likes to play.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Piercy played for an hour. He did all the stuff you'd expect in there, and probably some stuff that you probably never want to hear again, just because they weren't the best of the Rat tunes in there. But overall, I mean, I think had a good time. I think it's interesting that he has what's his name, Matt Thor, I guess, on bass.
Yeah,
I wish he had better stage presence. I mean, solid bass player, but I mean, he's just kind of standing in. He makes Ian Hill look like he's Richard Simmons. I mean, and it's just ridiculous. He's just standing in place. I'm like, somebody check that guy's pulse. But overall, great performance. I mean, I give Stephen Fiercy 4 hail and kills out of 5 on that one.
Well, Stephen kind of has a revolving door of guys that play in his band, and Frankie Wilsey plays periodically, and Matt Thorne plays periodically, and who was the guy, the bassist, he was in and out of the band. He just has this revolving door. Who's ever available when Steven's playing live gigs, that's who goes on the show.
Right.
So did you run into Eric Ferrantino?
No, I didn't. I mean, I was watching out for him, but I never did. I mean, it's
See,
weird
Eric
how you can be on there and not run into people.
I'll tell you why with Eric, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more on Monday when I'm doing my show with Eric. But Eric told me flat out that every night except for the night Tesla played, he was doing the same thing as Steven was, hat on, pulled down, like he was like just trying to get out and watch the shows, and didn't want to be interrupted 43 times by taking photos and whatnot. And I get that sort of, it's a weird thing. I've thought this for anybody on the cruise. When bands are bands outside of these cruises, there's that distance between the fans, and they can fill the distance to whatever level they want to. If they want to sign 50 autographs, they could charge a fee that'll limit it to only 50 people. And they can kind of limit the number of hands they got to shake and pictures they got to take. You get on the cruise, everybody's there. Everybody's right there on the deck, and you got to listen to every fucking story of, man, I got to tell you, Got Me on the Line was my marriage song. And, it's like, you got to hear all those stories. I could see where that, especially when you've had that distance for your whole career, I could see where that would be like a real pain in the dick.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'd be curious if he got asked about what's it like, writing such a classic like You're in Love, because I mean, half these people don't know who was in or out of the band.
Right.
But I am thankful to not have had or to not continue having Hardcore Superstar or Eclipse or this wigwam shoved up my ass on a day-to-day basis. I mean, just not good at all. I mean, I did try to check them out, check a song or two, and I'm like, man, I just don't get it.
Do you not like the Sweden bands at all, or?
Oh, I do, but like with Hardcore Superstar, I liked them a lot better when they were the Helicopters.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of like you get into this, kind of like you did with these '80s bands. You get the B and C leagues. You know what I mean? There's a lot better bands than these guys, but I think it's just like for some reason, I guess they have an in, and once they get attached to the Monsters of Rock tit, they're not letting go.
Well, two reasons for that I know of, and I'm certainly not plugged into the Monsters of Rock business, but one, the Frontiers has a hook. Frontiers has a definite hook to get some of that. That's why Chez Kane is on this thing, and Heat, and all those bands are on this tour. And the other thing is it fills the boat because a lot of people will travel from Europe. And from what I understand, from what I've heard from a lot of people, there were a lot of European people that, flew in to go on the cruise, because they don't get these kind of cruises. So it's good for them to have 2, 3, 4 bands that are local popular so that it brings, like you said, your tickets were $16,000. Multiply that by 100.
Right.
That's
I mean,
or whatever.
There was a lot of Australian people there too.
Yeah.
I mean, there for a minute, I thought I heard Tim James. I kind of had to was like, was that who I thought it was? But it wasn't him. False alarm.
Nice.
Right. I was waiting to see if he said Perler. Speaking of Perler, Shanker put on a hell of a performance, though. I mean, I think he tore through. He's been on a tear since he got his mental health and his drinking issues under control.
Right.
And I think over the course of the past 15, 16, 17 years, I mean, I don't think he's done a bad show every time I've seen him. And this time, man, he had that Ronnie Romero.
That's my dude. I love Ronnie. Which
I got to tell you a story about that because, I call it eating dust with Michael Sweet. So Ronnie, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with him because he's done so much stuff. He's done the Rainbow stuff. He's done the Vandenberg stuff. Saw him last year with Vandenberg on there.
Sure.
Sounded good because it was the original, original material, that he did with them. But as far as him doing Shanker, UFO, MSG stuff, I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to work out because of that accent, But man, sounded great. So I was pleasantly surprised, So that was just a killer show. He basically did a couple new tunes.
Okay.
Which I think was probably a decent balance there, and then the rest was all classic MSG and UFO stuff, and it's just crazy. It was crazy good. So that would be 5 hail and kills out of 5, or as Tim would say, a perler. So that was spot on. Although I gotta say, it's interesting how the right room, the right sound, the right kind of audience reaction makes for the full experience, because then I saw him at the Studio B, as I had mentioned, that's not a place for great sound.
Sure. And
the set was cut short. People were drifting in and out because this was days after the first performance.
Right.
And it just seems like, it seems like after 2 days of this thing, the show performance fatigue sets in and people just kind of lose interest and drift in and out. And then it was a shorter set. The sound wasn't great. It seemed like the audience wasn't all that into it. It was just kind of a weird performance. It wasn't as great. And then I did see Sir Edward Trunk stayed for at least 3/4 of the set. The second time, which I was surprised, he was standing with the unfunny guy. But
that would be Don Jameson.
but yeah, so I mean, there was some good shows. Chez Kane, man, I saw her in the Starred Lounge.
Yeah,
she came out stood on a table because, like I said, there's not much of a stage there, so you couldn't really see her. She came out to one of the tables, stood up on it, sang for a little bit, and then what a great show. It was just like another one of those electrifying, I would say, until she mentioned that Danny Rexon was in the room, and I'm like, oh man, You know, I mean, that guy, you know, he's walking around like he's Richie Sambora circa 1986, you know, with the Zorro hat and the cowboy boots. And I'm just like, come on, dude, get out.
I think she dates him. I assume.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. If she is, it's like, what's the big secret? It's not like he's some real famous dude, you know?
Yeah, well, but I know he writes all her music and stuff, like both records. He wrote both records. And all right, answer me this question, and this is just the perv in me.
Yeah.
Is she smoking hot, or is it smoking hot with angles?
Well, I'll tell you this. I did get a chance to meet her afterwards.
Okay.
You know, I'm a dork, so I take these CD booklets, and you know, if I run into people, I have them sign them.
Sure.
At this point, you know, because of the situation with her, it was like they were loading stuff in and out, and she came out and said hello to the folks, and I was like, well, what the hell? I'll stick around and have this signed. But yeah, no, she's definitely a good looking for sure, and you know, and smelled pretty good to me.
Why did you give her the Joe Biden sniff test to get up close?
Why wouldn't you?
That'd probably get me thrown off the ship, I think. But no, I mean, I see what you're saying, though, because it's almost kind of like, I think, you know, it's weird how when they do the music videos, it almost does lead you to believe it's like, wait a minute, is this about angles and lighting or something, right?
Well, I know when I interviewed her, I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever it was, I was like a mumbling idiot because her face is really pretty.
Right.
Like she is but then I started thinking, I watched some of the videos. I was like, man, they really do kind of keep her centered a certain way.
Right.
And I was like, oh, is that, you know,
is this Facebook voodoo or what?
Yeah, that's what it felt like with her.
Facebook voodoo. No, but I hear what you're saying. You know, and then I also saw Burning Witches at that same venue.
Ooh, Laura,
and I got to meet Laura. Oh boy, there's
that's
another one. That I did get a picture of. But yeah, I was just like, whoa. I got this really stupid look on my face because I'm like going, wow, and they caught me right as I was saying, I was pronouncing the word or whatever, and it's like, wow, that doesn't look good. I don't think I'm going to use that. Plus, maybe I can crop myself out of the picture or something. But no, I mean, they put on a great show too.
Sure. Yeah, Laura's, wow, she's smoking hot. Holy smokes.
Right.
And isn't Courtney Cox from the Iron Maidens in that band now too?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
so wow.
Yeah, she's in that band, I think, because the other guitar player, I guess, is pregnant or something. Yeah. I kind of almost get the feeling like that's going to be a permanent thing, you know.
They've been positioning Courtney the same way as like Nina from coming out of the, you know, they position her as to be the next Nita Strauss,
right?
You know, and it's like, well, maybe because she's certainly a good looking lady as well. My goodness. Right. Yeah, the Burning Witches, that's another band that's just like smoking hot.
But I got to tell you about them though. I mean, they cleared the room within 15 minutes, I think, because they were so heavy. People got, let's get out of here. It was like they cringed, and I was like, oh, okay, more room for me. I scooted up to the front, you know. But yeah, it was just weird that I think they expected them to be kind of like a 80s melodic sounding band and stuff, and then when they realized, oh no, this is heavier stuff, we gotta go, you know. But good for the rest of us, I think.
How do you leave that? Jesus.
I don't know. I mean, again, you know, between Chez Kane and Burning Witches, again, you know, four hail and kills out of 5. I mean, that's fucking great. You know,
that's just looking at them.
You know, no kidding. You know what was disappointing though? I think the Extreme, when they performed outside on the pool stage, it was so damn windy, and then, you know, things were just not going right. I think when Nuno started setting up the next song, then the captain hits the blowhorn or whatever on the damn ship, and kind of from there it was just kind of like, it just seemed like things were out of sync.
Right.
And so that wasn't as fun as I expected it to be. And then I missed the second show because obviously there's other stuff going on. And then I think he blew out his knee playing basketball or something like that. I was just like, wow. You know, that's just further proof that if you're over 50, you need to stretch.
Exactly. Look, there's burning witches on the screen.
Right.
How do you walk away from that? I don't care if they're playing death metal. I'm watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just put on your fucking earplugs.
Yeah, just watch them.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the thing about the Monsters of Rock, I mean, even at maximum capacity, you know, the stuff's not loud. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. It's like you're playing loud music in your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not going to blow out an eardrum or anything like that.
I'd stay in and watch that. I don't care if they're playing slow jazz.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm watching.
But
the girl in the center, metal mic off, that is the one we're talking about. Laura, what's her name? Laura Lindemund, right?
Yeah, right.
Laura Lindemund.
Yeah.
Dude, real quick, I'll tell you this story. I think I've told this on the show before, but I was, during the pandemic, I was set up to interview them for whatever record they were doing at the time. And I was pumped. I mean, I was pumped up to do the interview because it was with Laura. And I get all set up, you know, and she insists on doing it in Zoom, which I don't normally do. And it was a whole thing. But I went out of my way to do it with Zoom because she's so fucking hot. I ain't going to lie. And I get to it. I turn it on. It's no camera.
Oh.
And I'm like, aren't you going to turn on your camera? She's like, I didn't know it was for video, and I do not look good. And I was like, no, you look fine. I'm like a stalker at this point. I'm like, no, I'm sure you look fine. Just turn on the camera. And she's like, no, I will not turn on the camera. I was like, oh, God damn it. You know, So I did the interview, but I was totally bummed out because I just wanted to look at her for a half hour.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, even after they did their performance, that place is that smaller venue. I mean, it's so hot and everything in there that, you know, I mean, she looked great even after that performance. So it's like, well, you know, I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, she's top tier, no question on that one.
Yeah. So you know, and Doro, you know, always great. You know, I think she focused on a lot of the early Warlock stuff, and you know, and just awesome band as always. You know, Winger, fuck, they're just a lot heavier live. I mean, I don't think I get tired of seeing Winger every time I go on these cruises and stuff, or see them anywhere around the area. Always put on a great show.
Sure.
This go round, I mean, I love watching Faster Pussycat, but this go round, I just got partial performances just because the way they landed, their performances were slotted in right before or right after another performance. So I managed to catch, like, you know, a quarter and then, you know, half sets and stuff like that. But they always sound great.
What Faster Pussycat did you get? Did you get the Hitler Cat or did you get the 80s version, like where they look 80s?
We got the Hitler Cat. Yeah. You know, I think they're going with that look from now. It's been
a while, but
several years, probably at least a couple decade, maybe.
At least 20 years.
20 years.
Oh, that's probably true. That's probably true. Years. Yeah, I mean, I think as long as he's not doing the white paint, you know, that corpse paint and the black lipstick, that wasn't a good look, was it?
No.
And I just don't like that. But, you know, I mean, they were great. But you know what doesn't age well? It had been years since I had seen Kix up until I started doing these cruises, and then you know, then all of a sudden I've seen Kix more times, you know, over the last, like, you know, 8 years or whatever than I had leading up to that. But this time, man, I caught Kix on the Pool stage. I mean, great songs. They always do the same stuff. You know, I mean, it's pretty predictable. But the thing that's really cringy, and I think because I probably paid more attention to the stage banter from Steve Whiteman. My God, that's just fucking awful. It's just not good. You know, I mean, I'm just like, Jesus, it's just really goofy, you know, thank you, fucker. And oh man, it's just not good. It just really takes away from the performances, because I'm like sitting there going, okay, if you tally up all the stupid shit you said on stage, that could have gotten us another song, you know, or whatever. But yeah, so that's pretty cringy. Tesla, you know, fucking great. This is probably the best I've heard, Jeff Keith sound.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he actually sounds pretty fucking good.
Okay.
And I saw them at the Royal Theater again. Great sound, great stage. Everything came together. That's probably 5 Hail and Kills out of 5. Even though, again, the stuff's pretty predictable, and it's just kind of the cookie cutter set. But yeah, they're always great. My wife was saying, is that really a guy? Because he was kind of dressed kind of like a older chick. He had like this sparkly pants or something and like a snakeskin, really baggy shirt. And I'm like, oh shit, now that you think of it, he does kind of look like an older woman. But no, I mean, it really was Jeff Keith. So I was just like, well, now you got me thinking. But no, I mean, again, great band. I mean, they sound pretty tight. And then Wild Mix brother, he sounds fantastic playing drums in that band. Man, it was good.
Sure.
Let me think. Great White.
Which version? Which version?
Well, this is the version with Melissa Etheridge, and then
Melissa
who I'm talking about.
Burt Carlisle, or whatever his name is.
Michael Lardy.
Michael Lardy.
Yeah, Michael Lardy. So it's the version with Michael Lardy. Now, I had given up on Great White. Once they got the little Frenchy guy, Terry Lewis. I mean, he sucks the soul out of the songs. I have no use for that. I don't need that. He tries really hard to sound like Paul Rogers. We don't need that. So I kind of stepped away from that. Made the mistake of coming back to see them with Mitch Malloy. Boy, he talk about fucking soulless. He just took the grit out of those songs, and it was just horrible.
Yeah,
but then
was a karaoke singer.
Yeah, right. And then they get Andrew Freeman, who's the insert me in the band guy, and that I knew that wasn't going to work out, and thankfully it didn't. But they get this younger kid whose name I don't even know.
Brett Carlisle.
There you go. Oh my God. Fuck. If they had gotten this guy back, back then,
But he was a junior high school kid at that point. So
I think, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But, I think where they're at now, they're almost kind of, in the same level as Queensryche, where they have a guy that now, can deliver a great performance and stay true to the original stuff, because he did a where they performed a set. I mean, they added stuff from the first album. So they did Stick It, and then they did something
from where Ruben froze.
But they did Rolling Stone. All that stuff sounded great. I mean, again, kind of what you expected in there, but what a fantastic performance. I was really impressed. So yeah, I mean, 5 Hail and Kills, man. 5 Hail and Kills for that. Wow. Yeah, I was really impressed. I'd see him again. I was going to see him again, but obviously, there was too much stuff to see, and there was again conflict.
Right.
Who I felt bad for?
Who?
Autograph, played the Star Lounge, which is that smaller club-like place with the great sound. Hardly any people there, and then
they have one song, dude. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah, right.
I don't care how much you promote Turn Up the Radio. Autograph has Turn Up the Radio.
Right.
Nobody cares about Blondes in Black Cars. Nobody cares about Send Her to Me or My Girlfriend's Boyfriend Isn't Me. No one cared. Nobody cared back then.
Right. I mean, and again, I just wanted to see for myself, what this current incarnation of the band, it was all right. But, the interesting part here is that their guitarist Jimmy Bell goes and does this, I guess, to give their singer a little bit of a break. He starts doing this solo, and it was funny because Reb Beach walked in, and he's like standing like a person over from me, and I'm like, is that Reb Beach? And I took a double take. I'm like, son of a bitch, it's Reb Beach, Nice. So Jimmy's doing this solo, and Reb's kind of like this. He's like, what the fuck's this guy doing? And I totally get it, because, when he starts playing, he sounds like he's playing like this a combination of a neoclassical kind of solo while getting thrown off a flight of stairs. You know, I mean, it just sounded fucking bad. But, you know, I'm just sitting there going, Jesus, that was unwarranted. But, you know, it's funny because I kept on then looking at Reb like, well, what's his reaction to this? And he's just still kind of like, what the fuck's this guy doing? And then eventually the solo ends, they kick into the song, which was Turn Up the Radio for their
Right, of course.
and then I look and I'm like, well, where's Reb? I caught the Reb walking down the hallway to get the fuck out of the venue. But I thought that was kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
But then I give Autograph a second shot because they did play at the Royal Theater at like midnight, you know, like a couple days later. And boy, I thought the first performance was kind of sorry. This next one was even worse because the Royal Theater probably has capacity about 1,500 people. You know, there's lots of seating. You know, it's kind of set up kind of similar to like an orchestra type of performance venue, you know. But yeah, it was probably maybe 75 people there. Wow. You know, which was really sad. And then I saw that there was a dude sleeping behind me. Oh, who is that guy? It was a guitarist from Rose Tattoo. I don't know. Maybe he was just snuck in to sleep off a little bit of his hangover or something. I don't know. But I was like, man, I feel bad for these guys. But you're right. I mean, they're basically only known for that one song.
Yeah.
And there's like one guy in the band?
None.
None.
Yeah.
Well, you got Steve from Metal Church playing bass, which he does a great job, but it's
Steve
like, you know,
Unger's
there's nothing.
Yeah, Steve Unger's in there.
He can't do shit about it. Yeah.
It's Steve Unger, Jimmy Bell, Simon Daniels, and I don't know who the drummer is.
Yeah. But apparently the drummer is the guy that's been in the band the longest out of those other people you mentioned.
Yeah. It's still.
So
It's look, if it ain't the guy with the red hair, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think Kenny Richards is spinning in his crypt, you know. I mean, it's just like, what the hell did you do to my band? You know,
right?
But yeah, it's kind of sad. I mean, thankfully there's not a whole lot of that. You know, I didn't see a whole lot of bad performances. I was disappointed, I think, in Lee Aaron, just because somebody that I'd never seen, and then it was just kind of, man, this felt kind of flat. But you know, great. She has a great band and great performance. I just think overall, probably the set was the.
Did you know any of her music going in?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with her music and been a fan for a bit. That's why I was like, well, got to go check her out. You know,
right.
as far as,
how did she look?
She looked pretty good. Yeah, I know. You said something about she was looking kind of pudgy or something.
Well, she was when she came back a few years ago.
Right.
You know, she kind of looked like a mom, but then.
Right.
But then Chris did an interview with her not long ago, and she looked like she kind of like got herself back in shape and stuff, and looked actually pretty decent.
Right. No, she does. I mean, I think for a lady her age, she looks pretty good.
There you go.
There you go.
Now, do you know anything about the story about the basketball game from the band versus crew or anything like that?
No, I mean, that started happening, I think, when we were in, where the fuck were we? I guess that was in Haiti. And never go there, you guys. Don't go to Haiti. I mean, I got, here's the deal. Junkyard was performing. We had gotten off the ship in Haiti. That basketball game was happening as I'm walking away, you know, I could hear the basketball game starting on the ship. We're you know, obviously across the way from it, and I'm walking back, and you get harassed from people from the vendors there. It's like, hey buddy. It's like, you know, just leave me alone. You know, I mean, and I did offer people $5 to leave me alone. You know, I mean, it's just leave me alone. You know, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to be left alone and have fun. But the game was happening as I was walking back, and Rose Tattoo was performing on the pool deck at that time. But I didn't actually see it. I mean, I'm not much of a basketball fan. You know, I'm kind of one of those guys that only follows one sport, and it's NFL. But even that's kind of questionable these days. You know,
right?
Yeah. But no, I didn't see it. I did see footage of it. There was some guy that had like his cell phone and he was playing it as I was walking by. I was like, holy shit, that looks bad. And apparently it was, because then he didn't perform like the next night or whatever.
He didn't play at M3 this weekend either.
Right. Yeah.
He's probably having surgery.
I would imagine. Yeah. You know, I know and I think that probably puts some of these summer dates in kind of limbo too, I would think.
Yeah, well, they'll put him in a chair. They'll put him in a chair.
Yeah, he'll borrow Dave Grohl's throne.
Right.
But no, I mean, because he's supposed to perform. They're supposed to perform in Portland with Living Color, which Living Colors, I see them anytime they come through.
Sure.
But on Monday, we had gone to the Dominican Republic, and you know, my wife plans all these fucking things. So we go into a private beach. If you could imagine this setting, you know, we're walking to get onto transportation to take us to this private beach.
Right.
And we're passing all these cars, you know, that are parked, you know, really, you know, like things that look like a Greyhound bus, and then Sprinter vans. I'm like, okay, well, where's ours? And sure enough, they're boarding us on this fucking thing that looks like a retired military vehicle. You know, the ones with the canopy on the back.
Yeah.
All they did was paint it white with some red trim and shit. And I'm thinking, oh fuck, we're gonna get on this thing. And the first thing they go is put on your seatbelt. And I'm looking at the top of this fucking thing, and it just has sheet metal, you know, just kind of over the canopy part. And I'm thinking, This is going to be fun. Well, I realized that sitting in front of us was Oz Fox and his hooker for Jesus wife, you know. So, I mean, she's got a fucking potty mouth and a half. I'm like, whoa, I was surprised. But anyways, that was a hell of a ride, because you run out of asphalt in about like 15 minutes, and then it's like, okay, when we're going to be driving for another 30, and it's like, holy shit, what's the rest of the 30-minute drive going to be like? And sure enough, it's like this windy road, dusty, you know, uncomfortable, bumpy, everything you can think of. And I'm like, motherfucker, what did we, you know, and
what did we buy?
Yeah, what are we getting into? It's almost like they're taking us somewhere where
you're being trafficked.
You're going to harvest your organs at the end of the ride. You know, I mean, it was horrible. But I would just say, you know, take him. He believes in the Lord. You know. But it was funny, because on the drive back, we wound up on the wrong bus, and sitting behind us was Michael Sweet. And so he's a pretty funny guy. But I go, hey, Michael, and you go, you know, you hit me in the head. You pelted me in the head with a Bible in Portland, Oregon in '86. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. You know, and he goes, well, it wasn't very hard. I go, I probably needed some sense knocked into me anyway. And he goes, well, you know, and he's telling me about how expensive it is to make those Bibles and all this kind of stuff. It was pretty funny, but he was inhaling dust with the rest of us the drive back. But man, you know, one thing about leaving the country, it makes you really appreciate living in this country. I don't give a shit what people say. Nothing beats this country.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Especially going over there.
Yeah.
That place is, if it weren't for the boats, it'd still be a third world country.
Right.
The only thing that makes their economy go is these boats running into, where did you guys go? Larrabee or somewhere?
Yeah. Labadee
and
or
then, something.
And then Labadee, and then Punta Cana.
Kinte?
Yeah. But you know, it's crazy, because you know, I've gone to the Dominican Republic before, not related to this, but I remember we were staying at an all-inclusive place, and I'm walking around and I'm looking at the wall, and I'm asking the guy, because you know they speak Spanish, and I'm like,
yeah,
what's the deal with the razor wire? He goes, oh, to keep Haitians out. I'm like, oh fuck, you know. So I was like, I don't feel safe anymore. You know, I'm thinking, geez, you know, if they're putting razor wire at a resort to keep the Haitians out. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. But I guess, I think, what did he say that Dominican Republic, the tour guide was saying that I guess Dominican Republic has about 60% of the island, and then the other 40's Haiti or whatever. But
okay.
Still doesn't make me feel any better. You know, I mean, but I was glad to be back on the ship. How's that? Because it was one of those things where it's like, geez, you know, this could really go bad.
Wow.
I would say take the Christians first. You know, I mean, leave me alone. Leave me alone. You know, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think as far as things go, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think really not a whole lot of bad performances. You know, I think just the experience in itself was kind of you know, just because I said the facilities was horrible. How would you like to have somebody tracing, you know, piss water all over your hallways and up the stairs and you know.
So with all that going on, did the hallways to the cabins end up starting to smell like piss and shit, or no?
They didn't. I think part of that hallway where we were kind of did for a little bit, but they had like these, you know, kind of one of those steam cleaner things, and I think they cleaned it up pretty well because you couldn't smell it after that cabin flooded or whatever. You know, the probably is just some drunk guy trying to flush something. You know. But you know what's interesting? This is another thing that kind of bugged me. I bought 2 power strips at Walmart, right, for like $9.98. You know, they were still in the package. And I threw them in my luggage, and we get up to check into our room, and so my wife's bag's there. I'm like, well, where's my bag? You know, she goes, oh, it'll get here. And I was like, yeah, I just don't feel good about this. I don't know what the deal is. And so then we leave to go check out one of the bands, and I go, well, if it's not here by the time we get back, I'm gonna have to follow up on this because this isn't good. And they're like, oh, we'll check on it. So we finally get it. You know, guy drops it off like several hours later. I unzip the thing, and I got this like slip that says, you know, that my power strips have been confiscated because it could be like a fire hazard, right?
Oh, Jesus.
No sooner do I do that, I zip up my bag. I go, okay, fuck this. You know, let's go check out another band. And then we step out the hall, and you could smell people burning weed. I'm like, this is ridiculous. They take these fucking strips, but they didn't find this guy's or this person's cannabis who's clearly smoking in their room because you could smell it throughout the hallway.
You sure you didn't see Eric?
Oh, yeah. Well, it could have been him. I don't know. But I definitely didn't see him. I was hoping to run into him. It'd be kind of cool to do that. But no, I didn't. I did not see him. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, yeah, probably should take a little break, especially after coming home with this, man. You know, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, oh man, dude, I really didn't want to be sick.
I ain't gonna lie to you, Ruben. The COVID sounds like the least big of the problem. The big problem to me sounds like $16,000.
Yeah,
that's a lot of coins.
That's a lot of money. Although, I mean, again, I think some of it was the other amenities and the extras. But you're right. I mean, it's a lot of dough, man.
But I mean, to see those bands, if you saw every one of the bands on the boat, it wouldn't cost you $16,000.
No, I think one of the things that I ought to consider, you know, because it seems like the one thing with this cruise is that they basically have a pool of bands, and they kind of rotate them mostly in and out. You're always going to see a lot of the same bands. Eventually, I think what's going to happen is a lot of these bands that are, as they get older, they're probably going to shift them onto like that classic rock cruise because they're running out of classic rockers to fill that damn thing. But no, what I was going to say though is that it probably worth probably take a lesser hit going to M3 or Monsters on the Mountain, you know, to be honest.
Yeah. So, and you know what's going to end up happening? Monsters of Rock is going to become all the 90s bands.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to, I mean, you're probably 2 years away from a Limp Bizkit, Korn, you know, those, Papa Roach, those types of bands.
Right.
Because they don't, to my knowledge, there's not one of those out there yet.
Well, you know, I mean, the guy from Papa Roach already has herpes, so he'd fit right in. No, but I do think you're right. I mean, I think a lot of those bands, and it's kind of setting up that way, you know, because I think, you know, just the fact that for the lineup for next year, they have Accept on there, you know, which is going to be another one of those bands that'll probably, you know, again, one song, balls to the wall. You know, I mean, and I think if they play any of the new stuff, you're going to see something similar to Burning Witches, where people are going to go, fuck this, we're walking out. But, you know, next year, cults collide. You got the Ace cult and you got the Monsters of Rock cult. You know, they're going to collide. You got Ace Frehley cult and then a Monsters of Rock cult. I want to see how that turns out. I just won't be there.
You'll watch from afar. You'll watch.
I'll watch from afar. Yeah.
You'll watch on Facebook. Good enough.
Yeah.
Save 16 grand.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I should have probably waited a year, but you know, I mean, once you get things going, I mean, I think you lose your dough. I think the other thing too, that I was kind of reluctant on going just simply because I had dumped all this money into this damn thing. And then had like some family stuff. And I'm thinking, oh shit, should I go? Should I not go? So, you know, I was talking to my brother and he goes, yeah, you ought to go. That's a lot of money to just kind of leave on the table. You know, which he's right. You know, in retrospect, that's a lot of dough. So,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So overall, you know, again, pleasant experience. I think people should do it once, you know, and if you don't like it, do something else.
Right. Well, sorry it wasn't awesome. That sucks, but
it was good. It was good, but you know, you're right. I mean, I didn't think it was awesome, but you know, it was still good. And we'll see. I mean, there's always other stuff you can do. You know, like I said, maybe the M3, maybe the Monsters on the Mountain, maybe something else. Although I'm not a huge fan of festivals.
Yeah, me either.
You know, I mean, I'm just kind of like, ugh.
Well, and what is that? But I mean, what is the cruise? It's a floating festival.
Yeah, right. So when you think about that, it's like, oh, but you're already in a similar kind of environment, right? Yeah.
Right. And the problem to me, and this is why I have not gone on the Monsters cruise. Mm-hmm. The problem I have with it is you can't get away from it. Like even at a festival, you can kind of go somewhere, you know, out by where they're selling merch or something to get away from it for a little while. Mm-hmm. You can't go anywhere on the boat, can you, to get completely away from it because it's just all focused on the bands that are there.
Yeah.
In your cabin.
Yeah, your cabin is probably
who wants to do that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there really is no escaping it because regardless of where you go, there's somebody performing something. Like you could even go into one of the bars and they'll have like, you know, I think the guy from like Autograph was doing like an acoustic performance. So there's always going to be people kind of surrounding that area. You know, the place the most putrid place is that damn casino. Oh, Jesus. I mean, you go in there and you have to walk through it to get to one of the venues, right?
Right.
Oh my God, that stench just kind of, just kind of penetrates your fucking
Was it
soul.
cigarettes or
cigarettes? But you know what it smells like? It smells like, and if you've ever been a smoker, or been around somebody that's a smoker, is that kind of wet cigarette smell. Oh
yeah, it's
Jesus.
It's like it's musty.
Yeah,
it's just a musty smell.
I mean, you can walk through that and almost feel this glaze on your face. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
because they're always cleaning the carpets, so the carpets are kind of damp.
Yeah,
so it kind of smells, and then the smoke just hangs in the air, and it's just terrible.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is Kip Winger's always in there playing, and I'm thinking, man, what kind of a toll does this take on your voice? Although I don't think he goes there. I don't think he goes to the casino till after he's done with his second performance. Right. But still, I mean, I was like, man, this is putrid.
See, Dan Pate has he's challenging you. He says, "Don't let Ruben fool you. It's a great time."
Oh, wait, was he on there?
Yeah, he was definitely on the cruise.
Oh, he's part of the cult. He's part of the cult. I mean, he doesn't have an objective bone in his body. He's a hardcore superstar fan. You know, because they jammed that up his ass, and he goes, oh, "Yes, sir." You know.
It's funny.
Although that's probably guilt, you know, just the fact that he goes, oh man, I blew so many thousands of dollars on this thing. I'm going to have to just kind of fall in line and say it was great.
It's going to have to own up and said, man, I had the best time ever.
Well, he says that you spent too much money too. He says he only spent $3,000 and I believe I could put up 1 million comments he's been putting in here the whole time, but let's see. You could take a lesser hit by not buying first class tickets and booking an expensive cabin.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, why would you do that if you could afford to? What?
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm flying first class. Been flying first class for the last like 8 years. I'm not doing
you and me both, Ruben. Whenever I fly long flights, first class, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can. But here's my question to Dan, and you can answer it as well, Ruben, since you just did this.
Right.
Of course, you can get a cheaper thing.
Oh, sure.
But if you didn't buy this bootleg, you bought it through Monsters of Rock Cruise,
Right.
the organization.
Right. Sure.
So if they're selling you this package for this much money, it should add that they should offer you that value. You should get 16 grand worth of value for it.
Sure.
Just the way it is. It's not like you bought it from some guy that was standing on the dock that was like, "Hey man, do you want to go?" It's you bought something, you gave them the appropriate money that they wanted for it, and you expected it to be $16,000 worth of fun.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was good, but again, it just has me reconsidering my options. I'm just sitting there going, "Whoa, what just happened here?" But again, drink package $619 times 2. I mean, fuck, that alone is going to take you down, a few $1,200 right there.
So you bought 2 drink packages?
Yeah,
then?
right.
Shit. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was
$1,200 for booze. Jesus Christ, dude. $1,200 for booze. You could have fucking invested in a fucking liquor store.
You're probably right. I mean, I'm not denying that. What does that one guy say on the chat room? He's probably justifying stuff because he's part of the cult.
Oh, he's definitely, Dan is definitely. Don't bitch about the prices. People do get more value with the gold badges.
How does he know? He just said he did the cheap route.
Well, he did. I don't know. I wish Dan would. I wish he would call in because he could explain it better than I can. But I do know that he is a definite. We know Dan. We met Dan at the Melodic Rock Fest.
Oh.
And he is definitely a hardcore fan of this music, and I know that to be true. Every other day he's like, "Hey, here's me out with so and so." Like he goes to every show. Like he's a true music supporter. So
right.
I'm not going to shit on him for that. But all I know is that I personally, I don't care what I spent. I need to get my money's worth out of it.
Right.
And it just sounds like you didn't, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to love everything.
Right. Yeah, and he's right. I mean, they do have those VIP passes, which then brings me some PTSD from doing the Disneyland Fast Pass bullshit. Because you could be waiting. You could be first in line for, I don't know, let's say Tesla, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden somebody that has a little badge just zips to the front of the line and they get in first.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those deals. But,
yeah, and I actually saw people bitching about just that because there was that rescheduled show, and people that had bought that had sat there all day waiting for for that show, and then people that had the passes went right past them.
Right.
And then they couldn't see. They were bitching that they had chairs and they couldn't see because everybody was standing up.
Right.
And I was like, well, stand up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, pros and cons.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in the end, you can kind of make up your mind if you go that one time or a couple times or however many times, if you really enjoy it, to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, everybody can have a different opinion, but dude, definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing this. What a ride. Jesus.
Yeah. What a ride. Yeah. And, I mean, in the end, I got a parting gift of COVID. So what the fuck, it's like things have really worked out for me.
That's right. Too much fun.
Right. All right, Ruben, well, tell people where they can see your work and read your stuff and find you on the web and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, well, knac.com, and then as like Chris said, to do some stuff for sleaserocks.com, and then also do the We Go to 11 on YouTube. So there you go. A little bit of everything there, and just don't leave any really bad comments. You'll hurt my feelers.
I'll bet.
And what exactly do you do on We Go to 11? What is that?
Well, that's interviews. I think the most recent one, there's an interview I did with Donald Tardy from Obituary, And it was kind of funny because the guy's he goes, I hope this is okay. He goes, I'm getting my car worked on, and he goes, I'm at the dealership. If you don't want to do video, I could turn the video off. Just leave the video going. So he's sitting in the dealership doing an interview with me about the upcoming tour that they have coming here this month. So that's the most recent one. There's what is there? There's one with Laura from Burning Witches online right now. There's one with a Joe Stump from Alcatraz on there too.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a few things on there. So check them out. And like I said,
that's funny about Tardy though, because we've had a similar situation several times, not even just once, with Ross the Boss.
Oh yeah.
Every time we interview Ross the Boss, he's doing it from, he owns a batting cage.
Yeah.
So every time you do an interview with him, he does it from the batting cage. So the whole time you're talking to him, it's like ping, ping.
Oh wow.
Ping, ping, ping. You know, going off in the background every minute of the interview. It's like, it's annoying as hell, but he's Ross the Boss, so you do it.
Right. Yeah. No. But again, check it out. You know, it's stuff a little heavier. I like stuff that's a little heavier too. You know, what the hell?
Very good.
All right, Ruben. Well, we appreciate you bringing us all up to date on this extravaganza of a cruise that you spent a lot of shekels on. And,
yeah, a lot of shekels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to be working for the next year just to make up for the shortfall.
No kidding. Yeah, you're right. You're not kidding.
All right. Well, is there any one artist that stood out for you on the Rock Cruise that I could close out the interview with a song from?
Well, you know, like I said, you know, probably Doro, Shanker, Rhino Bucket was great. Winger, awesome. But I think being that I had such an experience using the facilities or the bathroom on that damn ship, you might want to close out with Faster Pussycat, Bathroom Wall, huh?
Yeah, because someone took a piss on the bathroom wall, apparently.
Right.
One took a piss on the bathroom wall.
Yeah, I mean,
they couldn't find their way into the stall.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, it was horrible. I'm going to have PTSD from that for a while.
Too funny.
Oh, right.
All right, Ruben. Well, again, we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll close it out with the Bathroom Wall from Faster Pussycat. So, all right, well, here it is. It's Faster Pussycat with Bathroom Wall exclusively here
on your classic metal show.